The film Goodfellas, directed by Martin Scorsese, is one of the most influential gangster films ever made. It recounts the life of Henry Hill, an associate of the Lucchese crime family. The film follows Hill's rise and fall within organized crime from the 1950s through the 1980s, centering on his relationships with James, Jimmy the Gent, Burke, renamed Jimmy Conway in the film, played by Robert De Niro, Tommy DeSimone, Tommy DeVito in the film, played by Joe Pesci, and Paul Vario, renamed Paul Cicero, played by Paul Sorvino. Characters played down for film. While Goodfellas is widely praised for its gritty realism, Scorsese and Pileggi did soften or alter certain elements for dramatic effect or because the real-life figures were considered too extreme even for the screen. Paul Vario, Paul Cicero in the film, Paul Sorvino's character. In the film, Paul comes across as a calm, somewhat paternal figure, someone who values loyalty, order, and respect. He's shown as cautious and restrained, reluctant to get directly involved in messy business. In reality, Paul Vario was much more violent, manipulative, and dangerous. He was known for being ruthless in maintaining control, sanctioning brutal beatings and murders when necessary. Informants and law enforcement described him as far colder and more calculating than the fatherly portrayal Sorvino gave in the film. He wasn't just a reluctant boss who kept his hands clean, he was deeply embedded in the violence of the Lucchese family's operations. Paul Vario, born in Brooklyn in 1914, he would rise to become one of the most powerful and feared capos in the Lucchese crime family. His life, his crimes, and his legend would later inspire the film Goodfellas. Early life, Vario grew up on the tough streets of Brooklyn. By the age of 11, he was already behind bars. His teenage years were filled with arrests, fights, and brushes with the law. The path to organized crime seemed inevitable. Rise in the mob. By the 1960s, Paul Vario had become a trusted member of the Lucchese family. From junkyards and cab stands, he ran operations in loan sharking, hijacking, and bookmaking. His crew extended its reach into John F. Kennedy Airport, where millions of dollars in stolen goods passed through their hands. The Lufthansa heist, in December of 1978. Vario's crew was tied to one of the largest robberies in American history. The Lufthansa heist, more than $5 million in cash and jewels, vanished overnight. Though Vario himself never entered the hangar, investigators believed he profited greatly from the job. Downfall, but with power came enemies. Henry Hill, once one of Vario's trusted associates, turned government witness. His testimony put Vario behind bars on multiple charges: tax evasion, extortion, racketeering. For the first time, the feared capo's empire began to crumble. Legacy and death. Paul Vario died in prison in 1988. At the age of 73. Yet his story lives on. In Goodfellas, actor Paul Sorvino portrayed him as Paulie Cicero, a calmer, more measured version of the real man. But in truth, Paul Vario was far more violent and far more dangerous. Closing, this is the story of Paul Vario, gangster, capo, and the man behind one of the most iconic crime stories ever told. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and like to our channel.